short stories. People enjoy short stories. I enjoy short stories. I don't have time, and I get distracted.
To read a whole book.
To read a book.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a stack of books sitting there for me that you say, hey, you need to read this, and like, you're right, I want to read that.
Yeah.
And I just don't get to it.
You know the one thing, my TV's not been because the clicker hasn't been working out really well.
Right.
But one of the things that I'm starting to contemplate more and more just cutting the TV off, because the only thing I'm serious, because the only thing I'm using it for right now is I've got a stack of DVDs, and if I really want to and if something really interests me, I can go buy a $3 or $5 DVD at Walmart. That's cheap investment, but I'm getting so much more done, like work-wise here, and then reading also, because I've got a 1,300-page book that everybody's told me since I was a cadet, hey, this is a good leadership book. It's a novel, but it's a good leadership book. You should read it. And I'm like about 120 pages into it. And so it's those things where when you don't have TV as an excuse to sit down and do anything,
right.
You're like, okay, I can read. I'll sit here and just be quiet. And it's good for you too, because you're not getting stimulated by like noise and flashes of light.
And the negativity of what's on the news. I mean, I tend to watch the news because, you want to be informed. But when I think about the news and being informed, there's a video clip of Denzel Washington, and they're really wanting these reporters are really wanting to get his take on some political issue.
They're baiting him because they know he's more of a conservative guy.
He is.
Yeah.
And he said, look, and I probably don't get it exactly right, just paraphrase, but he said, look, if you're not watching the news, you're not informed. And if you are watching the news or the newspapers, whatever form it comes in, you are misinformed.
Yeah, that's the exact word I would use too. Yeah.
And I remember it was a couple of years ago, we had an midterm election, and I think we had a judge up, or a couple, there was a judicial race.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be nonpartisan, and they're not. They're not. And so I'm like, there's a local radio show here, a guy named Aaron Flint. I don't know if did you listen to him when you were here?
Aaron Flint? I don't think so.
Aaron Flint. He's a guard. The guy's in the guard. I think he's in his mid to late 30s.
Okay.
Been to Iraq and Afghanistan a couple times. Been deployed. He's been around, and he's worked in politics when his younger years. I think he worked. Was it Rehberg? Anyway, he worked for somebody on Capitol Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been Rehberg. Anyway, he's talking about pay attention, and he's got all kinds of really good resources, and it's a local show, but he's right on top of stuff. He's got a statewide following, and he's got some libs that call in and they just spout, and they try to knock him off of facts when he has facts. And there's some times that he'll use some conjecture, but he'll usually tell you that. Anyway, I called him.
That's called integrity, though. That's like I had a whole conversation with Bert on this like a week ago. I was like, because I brought up the example of the Supreme Court issue right now. I'm like, here's the deal. I agree with what the Republicans are doing right now. They're pushing a justice through, but that doesn't mean I agreed with them 4 years ago when they tried to halt it. And you and I had this conversation. Like, it's called integrity. Like, and so what he's doing is just saying, hey, this is my conjecture. Okay, that's great. Thank you for being honest, because nobody else seems to be honest about this.
No, that's right. That's right. You're feigning integrity in a lot of times.
Yeah, you're saying, well, this is the truth. No, it's not. It might be your truth, but it's not the truth.
Well, and that your truth bullshit just drives me crazy, because it's like I can say anything. Say, well, that's my truth. Oh, okay. Well, we'll not go there then. We'll not disturb your truth. It's such bullshit. It's a cop out of saying I don't have the facts, but this is what I think. Well, then say that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Right.
Or even, here are the facts, but here's how I interpret them.
Yes.
There's the police investigations. Like there was a guy, I think the other day, he was saying how all the different cases, the Breonna Taylor case, the George Floyd case, and then the case in Atlanta where the guy had a taser and they shot him. He said all three were justified shootings. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. I'm like, looking at the facts and only the facts and not trying to massage them to how it works for you. I think probably the Breonna Taylor case, at least from what I've seen, is probably just an unfortunate circumstance. She got caught in the middle of something, and that sucks. Now, does it sound like she was involved with a lot of that stuff? Yes, but the warrant wasn't for her, and she wasn't there to try and shoot anybody, and they weren't there to shoot her. It just happened that way. The George Floyd case, yeah, the dude was a scumbag, but that doesn't mean you need to put your knee on his neck and literally just let the life gasp out of him, you know. And then so justified, unjustified, and then the third one with the taser, oh, that's an iffy one, because it's like, put yourself in that position. I don't know if I would shoot, but you never know, because what if that happens to you and all of a sudden it gets, you know, up in your neck and it doesn't hit your vest. He has complete control over you and your weapon, and you're dead. You know, it's just.
Well, how do you know? Here's the circumstances that run through my head, potentially being in that same situation and training for stuff like that when I was in law enforcement. Was there are, believe me, there's some scumbags in law enforcement. We got one right there at River City that we had to deal with, that manipulates, lies, and gets away with it, and loves messing with people. That is the worst kind of jackass. And even the guys that work with him don't want to work with him, so they've farmed him off to work with the Marshal Service.
Yeah,
you know, just get him out of sight, out of mind. So there are people like that, and they're there everywhere. It's a very small percentage, yes, but people who are in that business, they know who they are. Now, with that said, that guy who wrestled with that cop, you know, and they tried to reason with him. And here's the other part: we see this much.
Oh yeah, of the whole story. Yep.
There's a little thing that was taught to me in the academy, and it is so true about everything you deal with, and it is, what are the totality of the circumstances? Totality, and you have to look at that from a really a third person if you can, but when you're in the middle of it, you're not you don't have that luxury.
No.
So my first
and everything's
thought was,
also it's literally microscopic events, just all put together, and it's so fast that
very fast.
You don't know. Like, I watched a video, unfortunately, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. They were talking about how the cops were unjustified in trying to wrestle this guy out of a car, because he wouldn't come out of the car. Well, what happened was he started wrestling with them, pulled one of the guy's guns out, and killed them both.
Yeah.
And like that happened so fast too. You're like, watch your gun, because I knew it. I was like, he might get your gun. You got to be careful. And sure enough, he grabbed one of them and killed them both. I'm like, and it just happened like that, so fast.
Well, see, and my first thought was, when that guy was running with that, he pulled that taser out from the cop and took off running. Okay, the first thing that went through my mind was, that's not the one he's going to use. He's disarming a taser, so it's not available. And does he have his own gun? And now he's going to take the guy out with his own gun.
Yeah.
Right? So he just pulls the taser away. He didn't throw it, but you don't know whether he's got a gun with him or not.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that pack a gun on their waist or in their waistband, in their hoodie, whatever. I mean, I assume everybody's packing.
Yeah, well, especially in Montana, you should. But and that's part of I would say that's probably why I felt not so secure in New York, because they make you a criminal, and I can't afford to be a criminal in my profession. So they make you a criminal if you do carry it all. And so I'm sitting there with I'll take a knife where I can go, but it's not always going to happen. It's just that's the one thing I probably felt the least safe in New York. And people are like, well, there's gun laws. I'm like, yeah, and that's probably why I felt the least safe, is because I knew I couldn't get a hold of anything and have it with me.
Yeah, only really law-abiding people follow laws.
Yeah.
Otherwise, guess what? There wouldn't be any laws.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be need them, you know? So
well,
anyway.
But kind of quick circle back. You're talking about the facts on the news and stuff. Like, I saw a meme from somebody that I follow on Facebook, and it's like, you know, it's interesting how they have fact checkers, and their whole profession is to put fact checks up to see, you know, what they're spouting off on the news. It's almost as if you could publish that on a daily basis and call it the news.
Well, here's the problem, though. Some of these fact checkers check facts that they want to check.
Yeah.
or twist.
Yeah.
You know, so that has been hijacked as well as something that was a truthful, nonpartisan, unbiased view of something, and just checking facts is turned into, okay, it's put the old twist on it. To come back to with Aaron Flint, I called him on his radio show and I said, hey.
Oh yeah.
I said, hey, okay, I get that you got resources, but you're in this business. That's what you do every day when you're on the air and when you're off the air, when you're prepping for a story or prepping for an episode or a day on the radio. Yeah, you're checking places. You have resources. Who do I go to that I can look and say, hey, is this judge somebody who's going to be an activist one way or the other? Right. What is their political leaning? Because I don't want somebody who's going to take the Constitution and become a legislative body with it. And I want somebody to interpret the Constitution. That's what their job is, nothing more. And he said, it's a good question. He said, yeah, I do this, and I do a lot of checking. That's my job. He said, but if you really want to get down to it, like everything else, follow the money. Who do these judges donate money to? And
I mean, it's just like it's just an investigation, really. If that's what you're going to do, this is now journalistic investigation.